Hi everyone, so for today's session we're going to make a chocolate fondant, okay, so moule au chocolat, as the French will say. So this is done by what we call the sabayon method. So in here I have my sugar and my whole egg. So as you can see I've got 225 grams of egg, which is about 4 eggs, and then I've got 65 grams of caster sugar. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to just whisk these up for about 10 minutes until they're really aerated into the ribbon stage. So while we're doing that, we need to get the other bits prepared. In the flame room I have my 250 grams of dark chocolate, and I've got my 50 grams of butter. I've already started that off just to get that going, so I'm a little bit ahead of the game. I'm not waiting for the chocolate. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare the moulds, and I'm going to show you a couple of different techniques for preparing the moulds. So when we do the moulds, what I recommend is either a large Dario mould like that, or a loose ring like this. If you use the thinner Dario moulds, the smaller ones, it's quite tough to actually get the outside cooked and still have a soft centre. With this you've got a bigger area around, which means that you can cook all around so it's stable, it doesn't fall apart, but you've still got that nice soft centre. So all I'm going to do is I've got some softened butter here in a pan, and what I'm going to do is just give it a very good layer of butter. Okay, so this is super soft butter. It's going to be a good thick layer. You can see I've really put a big layer of butter in there. It is super soft, so I can get a really good thick layer of butter in, and I want to make sure that my Dario moulds have got no bit that's uncovered from butter. If there's any bits that are, what will happen is it will stick. So I'm going to show you two techniques. One is where I'm just going to heavily butter it, and then the other way I'm going to butter it and then I'm going to spread a little bit of cocoa over it, and by putting that cocoa over it, it's just going to in replace of flour. You don't need it, I'm just showing you two different techniques. So, like I say, you see that my butter is so soft. Of course I've prepared that ahead, so I've made sure that it's been left out inside quite warm, close to the stove, so it's really nice and soft and easy to use. Of this recipe, so I have timings on the recipe. So I'm doing from cooking from the fridge. I have timings for cooking from room temperature, and also these fondants can also be cooked and frozen, and stored frozen until you need them. Okay, it's really good if you're in a place where you don't always actually sell a lot, or you want to prepare, get ahead of the game, and have them stored in the freezer until you need them. Okay, so I'm nearly ready. Just going to finish preparing my moulds. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to sieve a little bit of cocoa into the mould. Tack it off. I don't want any excess of flour or cocoa in the mould. Again. Okay, so finishing my moulds, the preparation of my moulds, what I'm going to do with these Dario moulds, of course I'm not worried about anything escaping, but for for the rings I just want to prepare with a little bit of a little bit of grease-proof and foil underneath just to stop them falling out. Sometimes if you've got a cold tray and a cold mat, you can pour the mixture in. You've got a nice flat tray and they won't leak out. But just in case, I just prefer to prepare my moulds like this. So I'm just going to put that underneath. Oil underneath the grease proof. This is just going to stop it coming out. So I've got 2 lined with cocoa, 2 with heavy with butter. I've whisked my eggs up. Basically, I've got a ribbon stage. I can draw that figure of 8. I've really aerated. So this is the point where we can go wrong. We can see whether you overwork it. Is when we actually add the chocolate and the butter and the flour. So as for always, when we're folding in, I prefer to use a balloon whisk. With the balloon whisk, it helps just break through so that nothing clumps up, and it stops you overworking it. Just keep going with the spatula around and knocking all the air out of it. Okay, so my chocolate and butter is melted. I'm just going to mix it together. Make sure it's all emulsified. Spend 30 seconds mixing that up well. I've also got a piping bag ready with a jug just to help put the mixture into the fondant. Okay, so just going to put the butter straight into the mix. Just keep that on the side. You might need the spatula for a minute. And then I'm just going to sieve flour in. A small amount of flour goes in. What I'm going to do is just gently fold that through. Lifting from underneath. Obviously the chocolate and the butter is a lot heavier than the egg. It's all going to want to sink to the bottom. And what we don't want to do is overwork this. We want to mix this as quickly as possible, fold it through, so we're knocking out as little air as possible. We want this fondant to rise, puff up, so it's just about there. So again, it looks like a mousse. I'm not going to tap the bowl because I don't want to knock out excess air. I'm just using the spatula now just to go around and just thoroughly make sure it's folded in, make sure that there's nothing sitting on the bottom. There's nothing worse than if you're emptying this out the bowl and then you find a layer of chocolate and butter at the bottom. You know that you're not going to get that strength of flavour through your mix, and plus it's not going to be as rich either because you're going to be missing a lot of the chocolate and butter that should be mixed through. So empty this into the jug. And this is again all about timing. Just like if we were making a souffle, if you've got times, knowing your times that it takes in your oven to cook. Like I say, a lot of these recipes I've made a lot of times in service, we've checked how long it takes, from cold, how long it takes from freshly made, how long it takes from frozen. So the only way that you know this is going to be cooked right is one, trusting that recipe, and then after that, if you've made it a couple of times, your own experience of knowing whether it's cooked or not. So mixture to the bottom. Tie it off. You can scale these if you want into your with the scales. Just weigh each one so they're all the same weight. Pipe these ones in. So. Here I've got my fondant mixture in there, ready to go, and now I'm going to cook at 180 degrees for 8 minutes. So here are the chocolate fondants. As you can see, they have risen quite a lot. They've perhaps grown about a third of the size of what they originally had. Just going to have a look at demoulding some of these. So on one side I did with cocoa, the other side I left just with butter. Obviously these will be incredibly hot. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take one off. Just using a little bit of paper. And you can see that that just slide right off, and that was only buttered. Okay. I'm just going to cut this open so you can have a look at it. We'll just move it off of that one, because I'm just going to present on the plate there for a minute. But if I just cut that open, and that was 8 minutes exactly. I'm going to bring that straight up to the camera, just so you can see. So that is perfectly gooey. It's got a cooked outside here and here, and then all of this goo in the middle. Okay, so it's a perfectly cooked chocolate fondant. Okay. So just for the look, I'll show you. I'm going to just take out the one with the cocoa, just so you see that there's not much difference between them. And this one should just slide out the same. Cocoa. So it's up to you. You can use the cocoa, or you can just heavily butter it. It comes out no different, the finish is no different, and the actual, it won't affect the flavour. So I'm just going to put that on there. Just put these ones aside for a minute. What I'm going to do, just to serve with it, whip up a little bit of creme chantilly. So in here I've got 100 grams of cream, 10 grams of icing sugar and just a tiny drop of vanilla. I've seen people using so much vanilla essence that the cream turns brown, and of course using extract that would just be too strong. It won't taste very nice. So just going to whisk this up to soft peaks. I would have this prepared generally beforehand. It won't take me long just to whisk this up, but figure of 8 motion. Slow that process down. Warm spoon. A little bit of cream and something made earlier. It's got some little flakes of chocolate. Okay, so just really simple chocolate fondant. Chocolate fondant. Nice gooey centre look. Served with chantilly cream and some chocolate shaving. It's nice and simple.